Good news, everyone. The sixth most expensive film ever made might break even with home video sales. All right, thank you, fake studio audience. Happily, it's Comic Artist Pro Secrets. You're listening to Ethan Van Sciver. Soylo, a Star Wars story, can break even with home video sales. Oh, I love a plucky, optimistic headline like this. This is like a nice cup of coffee in the morning. It gets you ready to attack your day. This is positivity. This is sunshine. Could it happen? Well, we'll see. I mean, Soylo, or as we have learned to call it, Soylo, a Soy Wars story, will hit digital download this Friday. So you'll be able to watch this privately, in the privacy of your own home. Like all shameful things should be done. Nobody will be able to see you. You didn't have to go out. You didn't have to go out and see it in May. Most people didn't go see it in May in public, where you had to go and people would say, you're here too, huh? No, most people stayed home, you see. Now, Soylo, a Star Wars story, is the sixth most expensive film ever made in the history of motion pictures. I want you to understand. Let's count them down. I mean, this is the most expensive film ever made. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Think about that movie. Think about Avengers, Age of Ultron, number 2. Number 3, Avengers, Infinity War. Big, profitable movies. Pirates of the Caribbean again, At World's End. Justice League, well, you can't win them all. And then Soylo, a Soy Wars story at number 6. And it, cost an awful lot of money to make. People thought that it was going to lose by the end of its run, somewhere between 80 and then several $100 million. And we're still not clear exactly how much it costs. They're claiming that it costs $250 million to promote, to make, $150 million to promote. Okay, so total, we're looking at $400 million, according to Lucasfilm's numbers that they've offered to the public. But see, we're under the impression that Lucasfilm has not yet admitted how much Ron Howard's finishing costs were. $250 million was spent by Film Lord and Chris Miller to complete 85% of the film before they were jettisoned from it. And we're not sure. I don't think they've admitted to how much Ron Howard's finishing costs were, but it must have been substantial in order for this film to be as expensive and as gut-wrenchingly, painfully, disastrously unprofitable as it was. Let's find out. Let's get some good news now. Now that I've given you the bad news, let's look at the good news. Soylo, a Star Wars story, may have bombed. It may have bombed at the box office. Yeah, it might have. Well, it depends on the criteria you use. If making money or not making money is the criteria, it did bomb. But home video sales can help the movie break even and perhaps turn a profit as well. I love that. The Star Wars spin-off had a notoriously difficult production, thanks to Kathleen Kennedy, with original directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller exiting. They say exiting, not fired, not humiliatingly and disgraced, fired in disgrace, by Kathleen Kennedy as she looked at their work product and said, no, I didn't want this to be a comedy, not intentionally anyway. And she fired them both and then brought in Ron Howard to finish it. So I like the word exiting here. There's a lot of padded language. Mere weeks before principal photography wrapped, veteran director Ron Howard brought in to finish the movie. The result was an inflated budget, that's right, and a delayed start to marketing a movie that people were already skeptical about. Thanks to the leaks within Lucasfilm, everyone was skeptical about them. Bad stuff was being said left and right. Soylo ultimately failed to even crack $400 million at the worldwide box office. Okay. So it's important to note, however, that Soylo's poor word of mouth didn't extend to the reviews. Well, I wouldn't say that. Those who did go see the movie seemed to enjoy the space heist adventure, led by Alden III Ehrenreich as a young Han Solo, and Soylo carries a respectable 71% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Respectable? It saw the return of a young Lando Calrissian, played by Dong Lover this time around, offered an interesting origin story for how Han met Chewbacca, and even featured a surprise cameo from Darth Maul. Spoiler alerts, now you really don't even need to download the movie digitally. The coolest part of the movie, or at least the part of the movie that everyone talked about the most. You already know what happens at the end. Sorry about that. Whoops. Soylo's failure to perform at the box office was driven by a range of factors. Not the least of which was the fact that it was released a mere week after Deadpool 2. It's a Star Wars film. Let's stop making those kinds of excuses, please. It's a Star Wars film. It should have steamrolled everything. It should have made a tidy profit. And less than 6 months after the last Star Wars entry, The Last Jedi, which was disastrous. And a lot of people feel, I among them, that The Last Jedi was so controversial and so divisive, it was so evil, that it actually turned Star Wars fans away from their favorite hobby. They decided not to even go and bother seeing Solo. Some people said, oh yeah, this is a protest. It's a protest. I don't think it was a protest. I mean, we watched this happen, Star Wars critics watched this happen close up. Very few people encouraged boycotts or anything like that. It was just people. Damn it. Well, sometimes your camera mount just doesn't want to play along, in which case you move forward anyway. So I don't think this was an organized boycott. I don't think it was anything like that. I know that Lucasfilm employees like to talk about that on Twitter and accuse fandom of organizing a boycott. I don't think that was the case. I think people were thoroughly burned by The Last Jedi and decided they just didn't want to participate in Disney Lucasfilm's continued destruction of the Star Wars franchise, the hobby that they'd loved for so long. So they stayed home from Solo, and that was reflected, I think, in the box office. Of course it was. All right, so now Solo is gearing up for its digital HD release on September 14th. That's good. That's this Friday. And its DVD and Blu-ray release on September 25th. So shortly thereafter. That's a couple Tuesdays from now. If it can match the sales performance of the last Star Wars spinoff, Rogue One, the movie that people actually liked, I liked it. I liked it a little bit. Solo stands a decent chance of, if not turning a profit, then at least hitting the break-even point. Lowered expectations. That's wonderful. Star Wars, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars. The most commonly used metric for estimating a movie's break-even point is to double the production budget, but they're lying about the production budget, so we're not really sure. We're not sure what that is, but here they're saying it's 250. They're doubling it to 500 million. That's what they need to gross, they're saying, because then there's advertising, promotion. Promotion is almost, it's almost the equivalent of what you spend on production, believe it or not. What a waste of money just to sell cups at Denny's. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So they wanted $500 million to break even. They came up with 392. Wah, wah, wah. Not good, not good. According to Nash Informational Service, sales tracking website, the numbers, Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, grossed $83 million in domestic video sales. So they're hoping. They're like, look, Rogue One, the movie that everyone liked, it sold $83 million in domestic video. Now, people did all go to see that in the theater. So maybe this was a lower number, okay? This is great. I love this kind of optimistic thinking. I can't wait to see this play out. So if Rogue One, if everyone went to see it in the theater, maybe because they'd already seen it, they didn't buy all of the DVDs. So this is a low number. 83 million is a low number. And since nobody went to go see Solo in the theaters, maybe everyone is going to buy it on DVD. That would mean that they would make more than $83 million and the movie would be saved. The movie would be saved. It would be great. If Solo can achieve similar sales or better, Disney might not end up at a loss after all, especially when considering the merchandise sales. I wouldn't consider those if I was you. I wouldn't. The fact that Solo was generally poorly viewed during its theatrical run, which grossed more than $1 billion. Can you imagine Rogue One, the other Star Wars story, made over $1 billion? And then the next one, the sequel, made $392 million. That is a downward, that's a decline. That is a declining number right there. God only knows. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said that he felt Star Wars Episode 9 would do $300 million. That would be a catastrophe. I can't even conceive of that. That would be incomprehensible. But that is the slope that they find themselves on right now. So people who skipped Solo when it was in theaters may be interested in watching it at home, especially as Star Wars fans face the long wait for Episode 9. Look, take your time with Star Wars Episode 9. Of course, when you're talking about the biggest sci-fi movie franchise of all time, a movie breaking even isn't exactly a success story. No, it isn't. It's actually the biggest flop of the year. It is the biggest money-losing film of the whole year, and it might be something even more historic. I mean, really, it's the first Star Wars film to ever lose money. That is insanity. That is absolute insanity. So, yeah, it might end its run with $450 million in revenues. I think it's fair to guess that it's going to end up with 450. We'll see where that ends up. It's not going to break even. I'm sorry. It's really not. Now, what happened? What happened to those who Solo, a Star Wars story, left behind? What happened to those people who like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who were fired, who were humiliated, but they were actually spared. It was actually a good thing to be fired from this movie, as it turns out. Where are they? For a long time, I thought they were murdered. But let's get an update. The happiest people right now, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, look at the faces of these guys, as the DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download for Soylo, a Soy Wars story, is about to hit the shelves. These guys couldn't be happier. What are they doing? They're developing an ABC comedy right now. So this is good news. This just came out yesterday as well. If anyone deserves a comeback, it's directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. That's right. They were so hard done by. And they really were. They completed, it might have been good. I want to see the Miller Lord cut. I want to see the Miller Lord cut of Solo. What might that have been like? Because look at this. After a string of hits, for one thing, it's not even clear if they did anything wrong. You guys didn't do anything wrong. I'm so glad to see you alive. I thought Lucasfilm had you murdered, but I'm glad to see that's not the case. Lego Movie 21 and 22 Jump Streets. I like both of those movies. The dynamic duo wound up with the job of bringing a Han Solo spin-off movie to theaters. They wound up leaving it mid-shoot. They were fired and were replaced by Ron Howard, who saved, quote-unquote, the movie by creating the lowest-grossing Star Wars movie in history. This article rules. Last year, Lord and Miller announced their rebound movie, and now they're developing a workplace comedy for NBC. Variety is reporting that the two are hard at work on Business as Usual. That's the name of their new show, Business as Usual. An NBC show centered on low-level employees at a business in disarray. It sounds like The Office. That's right. Think of it as the anti-The Office, where the workers aren't 24/7 bored, but 24/7 stressed. That's a nice spin. These guys are smart. Why? Why would Kathleen Kennedy ever fire these gentlemen? Why? Freaking out over constant management and workload changes, worried their positions may come to an end. The single-camera show will be written by Hayes Davenport, who's produced and or written for Great News, Vice Principals, and Eastbound and Down. As for Lord Miller's next film, it's an adaptation of Artemis, the Martian author Andy Weir. Wow, they really moved on to bigger and better things. Artemis by the Martian author. So Martian, wow, Academy Award-winning film. It actually sounds a bit like Business as Usual, as well as the Lego Movie. It focuses on a young woman trapped in a dead-end job on the moon, meaning it's another Lord and Miller project about an every person trapped by forces outside his or her control. Congratulations, gentlemen, and you escaped this disaster. I think at the time it might have hurt to get fired by Kathleen Kennedy, but she's on her way out. Don't worry. She's going to announce her early retirement by the end of this month, and you guys got out unscathed. I'm so happy. I will be watching Business as Usual. I think it sounds like a great show, funny concept. You gentlemen, you keep at it. And as for Soylo, a Soy Wars story, we will keep our eye on DVD and Blu-ray and digital download sales. I personally cannot wait to buy the DVD and watch all of the bonus footage. I will be bringing you guys information, so you don't have to buy it. I will tell you what you missed, what's on there, and if that, could this clown show be enhanced by more information? I can only guess yes. Join the fandom menace and execute your own Order 66 with our incredible line of t-shirts, Soylo, a Soy Wars story, Tico, a Soy Wars story, and our brand new smoking hot Soy Wars Plan 9. Make a statement today. This is the only trilogy you'll ever need. The link is below in the description. Hey, want to follow me on Twitter? Okay, cool. I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. Talk to you there. If you enjoyed this video and want to become part of this community, subscribe to this channel by clicking the laughing man face logo right on your screen. Ring the bell for notifications as well. You'll never miss a live chat. And stay tuned, another video by Comic Artist Pro Secrets is coming right up.